Own your intuition. Forbes quoted that intuition is the highest form of intelligence. Intuition is not just woo woo stuff. We all have access to different kinds of intuition. And the way we receive and translate and work with our intuition is as varied as each one of us in our fingerprints and dental records. So when we try to compare ourselves to this person or that person, and what does intuition mean? And I don't do it like them, that's how it's meant to be. We are all puzzle pieces, navigating our way with the purpose of bringing our innermost sacred part of our heart into the world. And it's going to look different for each of us. It's supposed to. So let's talk about how intuition plays a big role in it, because as an intuitive mentor, where I work with people in individuals, families, groups, and all different kinds of ways using my intuition and my knowledge and all that other stuff, right? Things happen that are magical and amazing, mostly because they are beautiful, not because they're a surprise to me. Intuition, in its raw essence, creates an opening for us to more clearly see our mission and go deeper toward that authentic realness. It creates an opening so we can look within our own being and see the beauty, the mission, and allow ourselves to choose how to bring it forward. How sweet is that? Intuition is not fear, though some people get a vision and they start feeling things and then they become afraid. But it's not the intuition that's the fear. It's the human rational mind that lays fear on top of intuition. And I think this is why. Because intuition, it like helps us go toward the change. And we live in a world that wants everything to be status quo, even though we said we want change. And I notice, like, even in some of the elections and stuff, like, change, we want change. Well, change in the way I say, and that's comfortable, and I don't want to feel off a little bit, and I don't want to have to grow or stretch or work, but I want change. That doesn't even make sense, right? So intuition helps show us where we're meant to change, how we're supposed to be going forward, where our next step in our evolution and our beautiful lives are supposed to go. It is meant to be yummy. It's meant to show us things that give us choice, give us opportunity and possibilities that if we were just living in our head, like sticks with a head, we would miss it. We would miss that beauty. It's kind of like giving us a more enlightened map, if you will, and the map's not the territory. We create the territory with our actions and our emotions and our words, because you can get an intuition. You've all had it happen, right? Where your gut said, don't do that, don't do that. And you said, well, I'm going to do it anyway. And then you paid a price you didn't want to pay. Yeah, that happens. So we want to listen to our intuition. It shows us where we want us to go, where we want it to go. Now, it shows up different for everybody. Some people see things in their mind's eye. Some people hear things. Some people get feelings and senses. You've seen and heard me say many times on this show that, like, I have goosebumps. Well, that's my intuition telling me you're on point. Like, that space is totally in alignment, right? So there's all kinds of ways to do it. And so I want to invite you, if you haven't done it already, is to continue to be open, to let yourself start to feel your own intuition. How does it come through? Because does it come through in a feeling? Now, sometimes for me, it comes through in a mind's eye kind of vision, like I can see the road. Sometimes it comes through in a voice in my head that's not a hallucination as in mental illness, but I hear it. That's often when I'm driving, and it sometimes happens when I'm in the shower, when I'm thinking about something else and my thinking brain's over here working. Sometimes a really cool message will come in. I call them inspired ideas. And sometimes I get a feeling, and there's all those different things. Now, there's also prophetic dreams, where you dream something and it's showing you where to go or what the next step is. All of them are valid, and everyone does it a little differently. I have some very intuitive friends of mine that have a whole different way of connecting and understanding than I do, and it's still all perfect. So, one of the things that is important if you're going to develop your intuition and you're going to take the map it starts to give you and decide you're going to travel down the road, is to continue to raise your vibration. Raising your vibration. My mantra is I am raising my vibration. I am raising my vibration, because intuition comes in at a higher vibration. It's not in the three-dimensional. So it comes in sometimes soft, sometimes in language that's not yours, sometimes in ways that it takes a minute to sort it out. Comes in more like a love frequency than a screaming and yelling. So I always can tell if it's my intuition because it's supportive and kind and helping me see something that maybe either I don't want to see or that I'm not yet seeing. It's kind of like my little inner guidance system. Like when you're using your GPS and you get off, you make a wrong turn, what's it say? Recalculating, and it helps you come back. Well, our intuition's that way too. So I have clients of mine that say, well, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to take a wrong turn. I don't want to take a step and have it be wrong. I'm like, well, first of all, there's no wrong step. Second of all, the universe will always give you immediate feedback. Immediate feedback. If I make a decision to do a certain thing based on what I think my intuition is, even when I'm still practicing, maybe, and it's not the right thing, or, oh, I misinterpreted it, guess what? Your intuition and the universe, whatever way, will tell you wrong direction, wrong direction. You turned right a little too soon. You got to go up again. The universe and all of its glory and all of its intelligence, because not all intelligence is in your head, will always give you immediate feedback. Whether it's a gut feeling like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, or, whoa, that's like really exciting. All of them are that inner guidance system giving you immediate feedback. So you don't have to worry about taking a wrong action or procrastinating or stopping. All you really want to do is stay in integrity. And I always talk about that alignment of integrity of our mind, our heart, and our soul, right? So that our being is lined up. So, like if we were in an hourglass, and from the hourglass up here, what are we doing? We're drawing in all the possibilities from the world. We're in the middle part, standing straight, right? Mind, heart, gut. And then the hourglass part of the bottom is all of the things we create in the physical world based on what comes from the higher part down through us into the world. So when we're breathing and allowing ourselves to relax in this space, this knowingness that heart's mission in you is going to continue to urge you to listen and come forward. Almost every client that has called me in the, I don't know, last several years has been, there's something more. There's something more, and I want to find it. So I say, well, we're like little archaeologists with our little brush, and we're going to sort it out. And then I'm going to help you see how to put it together. Several people have said to me, well, I got to figure it out on my own. I'm smart. I got to figure it out on my own. To which I say, you cannot read the label from inside that jar. Yeah. So we are required, we are meant as human beings to be in community, in collaboration, in connection with another human being to help us go forward. That's part of our neurology and biology of bringing the possibilities through us into the world. We require connection to the greater universe, connection within us so that we can stand in our sovereignty, and connection to our peer group or others of the same species. So it's vitally important, everybody. It's vitally, vitally important that we begin to listen. Now, I have some things I want to tell you that are kind of like lessons I've learned so that you can either say, yes, I've learned them too, or when you start going through it, you realize, oh, that's a lesson that I need to learn as somebody who's developing my intuition. One is don't try to force anything. That's a big one, right? Where we try to force the answer or force the understanding or force the outcome. Like, I see it, I see the vision, I got the inspiration. Now I want it to happen by lunchtime. That's not how it works. The information we get spiritually is not tied to linear time. This up here is not in the same time as this down here in our hourglass, right? So we are the translators. And sometimes we have to be patient and realize that forcing it doesn't work. I say to myself, since I'm a sailor, you can't push a rope, right? So it's time to just let ourselves practice patience, practice understanding there's a timing, and most gifted people are ahead of their time by 2, 3, 4 years or more. So sometimes we have to wait for the world to catch up with us a little bit in some areas. So it's all about having community and people who understand us so we can work together, move forward, do the right thing, and live in our intuition. Now, another lesson is that running into the three-dimensional physical reality when you're living in the visionary world can be really, really tempting to just hang out there. So I used to say a lot of times, this three-dimensional world is highly overrated. And when I had my private practice many years ago, a different kind of practice, I was working with substance abuse and trauma years ago. When I was in between clients or before my groups or whatever, I would just want to be in a meditative, visionary place. And I didn't want to do the physical work, like answer the phone or clean the office or whatever it was. I wanted to be in the visionary world. And it's a very tempting way to try to escape. And once I realized I was doing that, then I connected with other people in my support system so that I wouldn't keep doing that as a distraction, as an avoidance technique. So it's very easy when you connect to your intuition and you see how much of a visionary you actually can be to want to just go hang out there and pretend like the three-dimensional world doesn't work. Some people call that world denying theology. There's a lot of systems that say, well, we're just hanging out here. We can't wait to get to the next place. Well, you're here on purpose with a purpose. This three-dimensional reality is really serving you. You are here to serve it. It's not something to escape. Years ago, I bought into that. It's something to escape. It's not something to escape. This three-dimensional reality is helping us see where we're going. I realize now, years later, after a lot of my own healing, that part of me, that visionary part of me that just wanted to hang out in meditation all the time, that was a trauma response, right? That I had suffered through so many traumas in my life. And there was a part of me that when I finally got the solace and the understanding of connecting on this deeper level, I just wanted to stay there. And the more I healed the trauma and understood that there is a balance, it's a yes and. We are connected to the infinite possibilities. We are that conduit into the physical realm. And as long as we're in human bodies, we are the conduit. So we want to make friends with the three-dimensional reality while also developing our spiritual self. We want to allow the third thing is we want to allow our intuition to serve us. Mm-hmm. We want to give it permission to come forward and serve us. Every day I get up in the morning and shortly after I take my dog for a walk, I journal. And while I'm outside in nature early in the morning, usually the sun is coming up, I connect with the birds, with the trees. Sometimes I'm up before the birds and then they wake up while I'm out there, and that's really fun. And it's always exciting to connect on that level and just be in nature in wherever I am. And then return to my home and journal and write. And sometimes I close my eyes and just kind of let the pen go. What is it that's trying to emerge? What's trying to come through me? What's trying to be expressed in the world? In fact, even this podcast episode is a result of one of those journaling moments where I was thinking, what is something of value that wants to emerge through me into the world. And then next thing I know, I'm writing these things down, these lessons from the gifted intuitive down for you. We never know exactly what it's going to be. So we want to be open and take direction from our higher selves. Because as we stand in this hourglass, it's important that we allow all the possibilities to come through us in a way that serves others, where we're a beneficial presence, and that what we bring into the three-dimensional world is of beauty and grace and poise and care and being a good steward of Mother Earth and of our relationships. So remember that if you get a message and you're wondering, is it my ego or my intuition? It's real easy. If it's your higher self or your intuition, it comes from a place of love and beauty and grace. If it's your ego, it's often judgmental or linear. Like, this is what's wrong, or you have to do this, or blah, blah, blah. That's not how intuition speaks. Intuition reminds us. Like sometimes when I'm dialing into my intuition, I hear things like, you're beautiful. You are very capable. Go and share your smile today, and things like that. And that reminds me that, maybe in my thinking, my subconscious thinking, I might have been saying things to myself that wasn't so nice. Or maybe my self-talk wasn't in alignment, and my intuition was reminding me to come back into alignment. Your intuition is never judgmental, and it is never mean, ever. It's not what it's here for. It's here to help you deepen in safety. It's helping you to go within and really connect on those deeper levels. That's how come sometimes I think that my intuition helps my clients a lot, because I'm able to help dial in with them and affirm for them that their own connection is valid and sacred and beautiful and amazing, so that they can keep growing and developing, just like I am. If we're all breathing, we're still working on things, right? And remember that your intuition helps you grow as a leader. Mhm. Yeah. So if you're a leader in a company, in a family, in your life, then your intuition serves you and gives you great input on the map, on the invitation to evolve and move forward. Now, we have free will. You don't have to take the invitation. You don't even have to open it. What I've learned, though, is if it's part of my inner calling, it's just going to keep showing back up in different ways until I finally open it. So I've learned to surrender and just say, okay, what's the cool next part of this trip? What's the neat part of the road that I get to explore now? I get to use my creativity, my sensitivity, my giftedness all together in this crazy kind of turbulent world to follow the beautiful roadmap that my intuition lays out for me. I always remember I have free will, I have choice. So do you. So the message here is to own your intuition and own your own truth. You're a sovereign being, and it's time you stood in that higher truth. And I'm not talking about the brainwashed truth that's going on out there in the world, where you have to believe A, or you have to believe B, or you have to believe a certain thing in order to be right. Because right fighting is a trauma response. And in especially the United States, but most of the world, we have been in trauma for years. So when we right fight, my way is more right than your way, we're out of alignment. We're not following our intuition. We're not following the higher good. And that's not how we want it to be. So it's really important that we begin to follow that inner GPS and tell ourselves the truth, the inner truth, so that we can bring forward that higher beneficial presence and that goodness in the world. That's what our intuition's here to do. It's to help us deepen our mission, deepen from a soul level, the highest good for all concerned. Now, I hope something I've said today has served you, helped you, reminded you, incited you, invited you. Make sure that you make a comment if you have one, and share this video or podcast. And above all, be true to yourself. As Shakespeare said, to thine own self be true. and it must follow as the day the night. Thou shalt not be false to any man. Be well.